Well, greetings again. We're still on the best way to get something done. We're going to try to do a video on any little item in orthodontics that we think we've got about the best way figured out how you can do that, and we'll pass that on to you. And if you come up with something better to do it, just let us know, and I will try to adapt that and pass it around. And this is on YouTube now, and we can spread this all over the world, and it is a marvelous thing that we can do that. And I want you to really take this thing seriously and try this, and if it doesn't work for you, okay, there's something wrong in here. We have opened people's palates up into early 40s and 30s, and then in some cases we could not open them. We just kept expanding it and putting pressure, and we stretched the palatal bone, and the palate will kind of flatten out and the bone will actually stretch. And we've got a video on that of a young man. He weighed 312 pounds, and it wasn't fat. I mean, he was muscled up and everything, but I could not separate his palate. He was about 30 years old, so I couldn't do that. But we just kept working on it, and he didn't bother him, and we were able to spread the palate out over the lower arch, and it was in between the arches when we started on that. There's a video on it if you want to look it up too. So let's get started on what I want to show you, how we came to this conclusion several years ago. I forget just how many years ago it was, but this young man was in the University of North Texas, and he was in his 20s, and he came in and his teeth were in a holy mess. I mean, he needed some help. And there's a lot of adults that need the palate separated. In other words, if they were mouth breathers growing up, their tongue was in the bottom arch, and it spread the lower arch out and didn't put pressure on the upper arch, and so the upper arch doesn't develop, and the problem gets worse as you get older. And so we're trying to push this guy's palate apart to get him some airway where he can breathe through his nose better. And let's show. I mean, you don't see much here except red hair in here. Now this is after we had gone on for a little while here, but I will tell you, this was 1973 when we started this. So that's about, let's see, 73, 83, 93, and it'd be 03, and then stick another 20 years on that. So it was about getting close to 50 years that we've done this now. And here's from one side, and there's from the other side of the mouth. And let's look at what we wanted to separate these teeth, push them apart right here. So he had been griping and fussing at me, and he came in one Saturday with his girlfriend, and he was still irritated. The pressure on the teeth was, the palatal separator was cranking apart and putting pressure, and he was really complaining about it. And I was crowded and had a lot of people in there. So I went over there and I went and made me a spring like this and ran off on the other side. Now I have to squeeze this spring together and stuck it between his teeth over here. I took and made a little leg on it like that, you know, and stuck this in between his teeth and wired it in, and the teeth were set kind of like that, and this is in between them. It straightened them out this way, and it also opened the gap that way. And he came in Saturday morning about 10 o'clock. I put this on him, and he and his girlfriend went to Fort Worth. They were shopping, and while they were in Fort Worth, his girlfriend turned to him and said, "Hey, your teeth are apart here." And he said, he went and looked in the window, and he actually said, "I didn't feel them go apart at all, but they came in, and his teeth, you could stick a wooden match between these teeth right here." And I said, "There's the secret of this." And the secret of doing palatal separation on older people, and many of these older people need that separation to give them airway. And you can do it with a Big Daddy. We've done one too, just opened it with that. Now, let's look at what we go to next here. The guy's teeth were just terrible, and they were so crowded we took some teeth out on him, and we're going to bring this back in and line this all up. But I put that spring between these teeth, and it carried it apart. Now the secret of this is and I'll just make a little white deal here, and we've got a palate that's coming up like this, and we put the palatal separator in here, and it's pushing out in this direction and this direction. It's pushing apart, but the main bone structure is up in the front part where you have your anterior nasal spine, and the tooth and the bone structure comes out like that. And the main bone is up in between here. And we're trying to push this apart up here, pushing down in this area of the mouth. Now that's like taking your feet, your hands, and putting them out here and trying to separate something out here. You hold it up close. So we put something in here that's pushing up here and pushing down here too. And then this worked. And this was 1970, one or two or three, somewhere in there. I mean, this has been a long time. I have taught this, lectured on it all over it, wherever it was lectured. And it hasn't really caught on seriously. I was in New York once, and Dr. Donald Tim from England, the guy wrote the book on the palatal separator, and he had a bunch of people around him. I went up and asked Dr. Tim, how old can you separate the palate? And he kind of looked and shook his head a little bit and said, oh, if you get 17 or 18, that's about as far as you can go with it. And there was a lot of people there, and I didn't want to tell him that I had been separating people in their 30s, and a few of them in their 40s. And I just walked away and didn't say anything. Maybe I should have told him that. But anyway, you put the force out where you need the separation is greatest. And that's where you put it out here. And I'm going to go on and show this again. Right here. Now, you put that spring in there. It's a good thing they came back Saturday evening. If they'd have come back, these two teeth are out here. I can't see them in this picture. And this separator is working in here, and we're going apart with this thing, and we do go apart. That's 1973, I think, in that. Okay, here it has gone apart, and we have put spring out here to make room for the laterals, and you don't mind pushing the teeth together now, but the suture is separated in here, and we have separated this whole palate, and the upper teeth are out over the lower teeth, and the thing is lined up and doing good. I think we got a shot here. There it is, after we pretty well succeeded in doing that. And here he is in 1988. That's number 88. And his teeth are still out there. they didn't crawl back and go into this, and the guy is wearing that. The bottom teeth are lined up like this in here. So this guy can breathe now. We got his airway expanded. That you don't see that, but it makes the airways. You go across and you put buccal root torque in those if you need to get the roots further out like that. And we've been able to do that on adults, and I've even taken people in their 70s and 80s. I had one guy that we separated or spread it, we didn't separate the suture now, but we spread the palate out and got it out here, and we put the buccal root torque in those teeth, and they have a better airway even going in at that age. So anyway, this is what we're proposing, and what I would like to do now is I retired when I was 88 years old, and I can't work on them myself, but I want somebody that's good with these TADs to come in and, let me erase that right there, and put some screws in the bone structure, between the centrals right here, the little screws that one, and you run a sliding wire through here. You may have to get further up here to put the screws in, and put a spring in that and push this apart with a spring on a screw or a TAD that's in the bone, and it won't move, and that should give us, we should be able to get more force on this and separate these teeth in more, and then you can bring this back in. But we enlarge this like that. If you go back and look at the width of this thing right here, and now look at the width of that palate after I got through with this. All right, I hope you'll try this. Now I've come up also putting a large arch wire in here, and have been able to separate some palates by just using an arch wire here and a lot of buccal root torque on the teeth. So try what you can with it, and this works up into the 30s, and we've had some people that open the 40s. So you can try it 40, you haven't hurt anything, and if you crank it out, and if they can put up with it, it will actually stretch the bone structure and make the palate bigger like that. So thanks for watching, and I'm going to hang it up here today, and I hope you'll try this. Now if you find a better way to broaden the upper arch, then let me know. I'll be happy to adapt to it. Thank you now, and I'll close out.